That's right. We are headed into the election just a few days from now, and we are joined here at the Silver Diner in Rockville by the man who wants to be the next governor of the state of Maryland, Larry Hogan, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Larry, I have a special Halloween question for you. Given that this is Halloween, on Election Day, will conservatives get a trick or will they get a treat?
Well, I'll tell you what. The scariest thing I can think of would be a third term of the O'Malley Brown administration.
So that would be a trick. But how's it going to turn out? How do you feel about things?
We're feeling really good. How about everybody here? How do you think it's going to turn out? You know, most people didn't believe that we had much of a chance in deep blue Maryland, but people are starting to think this is really going to happen. I think with the help of the great people that are here today at the diner, we're going to have the biggest upset victory in the entire country.
All right, so what makes you feel that way? Let's talk about the stuff that you know from polls and the stuff that you're feeling anecdotally.
Well, the polls are all showing that the undecided voters are breaking in our direction at a rate of 2 or 3 to 1. And the latest polls have us not only – last week we were talking about the fact that we had caught up and tied, and now we got polls that say we're ahead by 5 points. So, but look, I don't want anybody to get complacent. We're working and running like we're 20 points behind because every single vote is going to count, and everybody needs to get out there. We're gonna do it, but I don't want anybody to think they can just sit home. Every vote has to come out.
Well, I think it's obvious that the people of the state of Maryland are figuring out what a lot of people in media have found out over the last couple of years, which is if you want a job done, you get a Larry to do it.
I think that's probably something to do with it, Larry.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
And I'm glad that we need a Larry in power in this state. You need to make the final argument now. I mean, we said it's the final countdown. You've got, 5 days until Election Day, right? Here we are Friday. It's Tuesday. For those undecideds, those ones who are going to make the difference, you need to be able to tell them on day one with Governor Hogan, this is how your life is going to change. Make that case.
Well, on day one, we're going to roll up our sleeves and get to work on cleaning up the mess in Annapolis. We're going to roll back spending, and we're going to try to cut as many of these 40 O'Malley Brown tax increases as we possibly can.
Wait, have you prioritized those? I'm sorry for interrupting you, but I mean, we'd love to hear which taxes you want to hit first.
Well, we first got to cut spending, and we don't want to make wild promises we can't deliver on. And we're not going to eliminate, major taxes until we figure out where we can get rid of waste and inefficiencies in the government and run it more cost effectively. But we're going to try. These 40 tax increases that Brown and O'Malley have pushed have crushed struggling Maryland families and small businesses, and it's what's ruined our economy. We're 49th out of 50 states with our economic production. We've had zero growth, and we've lost 200,000 jobs. We've got to roll back as many of these 40 tax increases as we possibly can.
All right. Now, the comptroller from the state has said, look, we've got a problem. We got a shortfall coming. The chickens are coming home to roost is exactly the words that he used. And he says, I don't see any way around it except to raise property taxes, Maryland state property taxes, by as much as 67%. Now, your opponent said he's not going to raise taxes. I'd like to know how he's going to solve that problem. How would you solve that problem?
Well, my opponent said exactly the same thing in the last election when he and Martin O'Malley said they weren't going to raise taxes right before the largest tax increases in history and raising taxes 40 times in a row.
Yeah.
My entire focus for 3.5 years has been trying to get the state on track fiscally. We've been the leading voice of opposition to the failed economic policies of the O'Malley Brown administration. And my entire focus of my campaign, it's about cutting spending and cutting taxes. What the comptroller was talking about is actually, if they don't cut spending, which they haven't been able to do, they've increased
Never been able to do it, right.
They've increased spending by 36%, by $10 billion, increased spending by more than 46 other states in the country. If they don't do it, it's automatically going to trigger a 67% increase in the property tax with no vote. So if you elect Anthony Brown as governor, you're going to have a 67% increase in taxes. And the $10 billion tax increase that took place in the first term is going to double to $20 billion over the next 4 years.
Very quickly, voter integrity, very important. Do you have the resources you need to make sure that everything is on the up and up when people go to the polls?
Well, we sure hope so. We've got a lot of lawyers engaged in the issue, and we've been in communication with the Attorney General.
Yeah, if there's a recount, you know how those things go sometimes if it's that close.
Well, it is a concern in that we've had hundreds of complaints in 15 counties at this point about machines malfunctioning, and so far the Board of Elections hasn't taken it very seriously, quite frankly. The administrator of the Board of Elections said it was fat fingers and long fingernails, But it's funny that not a single person voting for my opponent has fat fingers and long fingernails.
Exactly.
How did
They
that happen?
apparently all crossed over the other way.
Well, listen, the bottom line is if it's not close, they can't cheat, and there doesn't have to be a recount if there's a big enough margin of error. I want to ask you about the campaign itself. I'm looking at this room, and I'm guessing there's probably more people here than came out to see Hillary Clinton at the University of Maryland yesterday. You talked about how something changes in a campaign when voters feel like there really is an opportunity, that they believe that you can win now, and the polls are certainly telling that, but you're not going to win without Democrats. Specifically, when you hear from Democrats, what are they telling you? Because it goes against their DNA to vote for you, Larry Hogan.
No, you know what, Larry? That's the key to this whole thing. I started the state's largest nonpartisan grassroots citizen organization 3.5 years ago. We now have 125,000 Marylanders engaged and involved in our effort, and half of them are Democrats and independents. And every single day, in every single county, everywhere I go, people come up to me and they say, I'm a lifelong Democrat, but I'm voting for you. Sometimes they say, I've never voted for a Republican in my life, but we just can't keep moving Maryland backwards for another 4 years.
I've heard it this morning when I've gone around and talked to people. You've got Democrats
here this morning with us.
Yes.
And your other point about it's starting to feel like it's possible.
Yeah.
We were kind of pushing the snowball up the mountain for a long time, and people said, Larry, we appreciate what you're saying, and thank you for running, but, you don't really have a chance here in Maryland. And now what we're seeing is huge crowds, enthusiastic people with lots of passion and energy saying, thank God, and please win this race. And if you don't win, we're going to leave the state. People are fired up. They're coming out in big numbers, and I believe that a majority of Marylanders, regardless of their party affiliation, are going to come out in big numbers to vote for a change of direction in our state. What do you guys think?
And what will be your first action if you should become governor?
Well, the first action is we're going to immediately jump on this budget. It's kind of a scary problem. You get elected. The legislature starts in January. I get inaugurated a week later, and a week after that, you have to submit a budget.
Wow.
And you haven't even put together your staff or your cabinets. We've got to root out, figure out how we can find, $1 billion or $2 billion in savings, and then put our legislative package to see which taxes we can start rolling back.
But there's enough fat there, right?
We think that there's, fat and fraud and inefficiencies and waste and duplication of effort in nearly every single agency in state government, and we're going to root it out with independent outside audits of every state agency and department.
Yesterday we spoke with your running mate, Boyd Rutherford. He was on with us yesterday morning. Really impressive guy. Obviously, talking to you today, but I would like you to talk just a little bit, a brief moment, about why you chose him and what kind of team you anticipate being.
Well, I'm so proud to have Boyd Rutherford on the ticket. He is, in my opinion, the most experienced, most talented, and most capable guy to ever run for lieutenant governor, and I have tremendous admiration and respect for him, and that's why I picked him. I didn't pick him because he was a politician. Like me, he's never held elective office, but because I thought he was the best person to help me run the state government. We met during the Ehrlich administration, where we were both cabinet secretaries. He went on to run the Department of Agriculture at the federal level. It's twice as large as state government is. But he's a guy like me who just wants to go in there and turn things around. I look at it like I'm going to be the CEO, and he's going to be the COO. Most lieutenant governors don't have any real responsibility, but this guy's going to be directly involved with me as a partner turning the state around.
Let's say you come from business world, you're not a politician. If you say CEO to Anthony Brown and his team, they're like, what's a KIO? We don't know. What does that even mean? Well, listen, you see, because he has no business
I got it.
background.
We got you, Larry.
And look at what that guy managed and how that all turned out.
Can we get some more coffee over here, please?
All right, listen, Larry Hogan, thank you for drumming by. We greatly appreciate it. Good luck in the election.
Thank you so much.